episode of the Trailblazers Experience podcast, where we have candid conversations with women sharing their career journeys. And my next guest is Tanya. She has an amazing record, diverse work experience spanning multiple industries and sectors. And she's currently the founder and CEO of Blockforms. Welcome, Tanya. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And thank you for having me here today. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, really exciting. And let's really just take it all the way back and just start about your early years and your career journey of sort of what's led you to where you are now. You started off as a financial analyst, but
Yes,
what
yeah,
even made you decide at some point to go in that direction?
sure. Well, when you're young and the roadmap is clear and you're told get good grades, study hard, pick something that will lend itself to a good job, um, I dove deep into the most difficult, well, seemingly most difficult thing in school being mathematics, and then studying economics. And because after graduating from university, it's quite hard to substantiate an employer, please hire me. I don't have any skills, but I got good grades, and I was waitressing on the side, looking for internships, doing all the things a typical student does in this day and age. And the first job that had me is the direction my career went in, and that was in finance for a media company. And I learned a lot of practical skills at that time. Excel, they actually call the terminology, an Excel jockey, someone who doesn't even touch the mouse and is doing all of the analysis. And I I wasn't even looking for a change, but I was scooped up by a recruiter, and it was an interesting experience when you're so young to be pursued from another employer, and found myself subsequently going into aviation finance and doing the valuation of commercial aircraft for lease, purchase, and sale. And I fell in love with that job because it was so international. And I was born and raised in the US, but my mother's from Mexico, my father's from Serbia. So this job really mirrored who I felt I was in my early 20s, just getting to see quotes coming in and corresponding with people all over the globe. So that is up until that point. And I eventually, again, sticking to the roadmap of a student, a really diligent young lady, I was like, okay, now it's time for graduate school. And I applied to graduate school, and at that point in time had two paths I could have taken. And one was to do school part-time and stay with my employer, or go on a total adventure. So I was very fortunate to have the option, and I opted for an adventure, sold everything that I owned, and moved to Hong Kong to get my MBA and uh, further discover my values, who I am. And it was a life-changing experience to have to adapt to a new culture. In the US, we fancy ourselves very, especially in California, like very diverse and open-minded, but it's a whole nother animal to be on someone else's turf and have to adapt how you behave and learn different customs. So I mean, we can go any direction with this conversation from here, but
Yeah. I mean, what I'm hearing here as a takeaway is there's something to be said is, you go to school and you take a certain it's a clear path. You study a few subjects, modules, but then it's that opening of space of when you leave school of what do I do now? And it feels like for you the you love numbers, you're very analytical and but on the other hand, you also enjoy working with different cultures. You talked about when you moved to Hong Kong that there was something about discovering who you were and your core values. What were your core values at that time and have they changed and evolved over the years?
I I love this question because I don't think that they changed. I think I just identified them. So I knew that being in a career that made me feel smart was important. And that's why I wanted to do something hard. And that's why I went into numbers. And that is something I accomplished. And that needing to prove myself to myself or the world, whoever, I moved past that with maturity and accomplishment. But something that remains extremely important to me and was at the time was the global aspect of my role. And the thing that I discovered and is a huge value to me is the sense of freedom of being able to work from anywhere and manage my own schedule. And the people that I'm working with don't care if I'm sitting in an office in Los Angeles. I can be in Peru, I can be in India. And as long as I have the agency to manage my own schedule, I am happy. So that's actually why I got into tech, because these technical roles are most commonly remote. So that's what inspired me to learn how to code and get into data science. Additionally, how many years ago now? 2018. That's when data science was emerging and popular as a term and very sexy. So I definitely gravitated to that buzzword of a career at the time, which is now exploding with the popularly available models like ChatGPT and Llama and Claude. So in generative AI at whole. So yeah, during my time in Hong Kong, I really discovered and have continued to fortify that requirement of freedom and having the ability to manage my own time, biggest resource being time.
That's amazing. And I think a really good takeaway there about time management, isn't it? The fact that, you can work globally and remote or hybrid, and the main outcome is really getting the job done. How you do it, where you do it is actually irrelevant. It's, can you get the job done?
Yes, yes.
And talk to me about co-founding Blockforms, because A, what is Blockforms, and
Yes.
what has been that journey to becoming your own CEO of your own business?
Happy to. So in I was at an interesting crossroads in 2018, and I was already working remotely before the digital nomad lifestyle became popular with COVID. And I what had some insecurity around not having a formal degree to be a data scientist. So I was really creative, and with my network was able to achieve getting a data science job. But simultaneously I was thinking, ooh, I need that credential. So I applied and was accepted to Georgia Tech's computational analytics program, and simultaneously had this consulting job where I could work anywhere in the world. And then I had the opportunity to start Blockforms with, at the time, 3 other co-founders. And I was really open to opportunity at the time. I said, I'm going to just try a few things and see what sticks. And as you might expect, what I signed up for was way too much. And I had the realization that I'm already a data scientist. Why am I going to school again? Like there's this like addiction to the certificate. And I'm like, no, I need to stop spending money and investing my time in school. I've done it. I've paid my dues. And Blockforms became a vision that has persisted since end of 2018. And to describe Blockforms, it's a software that automates forms. So any application that you fill out online in the form of a Word doc, you are filling out one digital form, but populating as many applications as you need to. So this is an extremely useful tool for any business that fills out a ton of paperwork. So insurance, finance, staffing agencies, real estate, we take any forms and consolidate them into one digital form. But the real secret sauce is that you're actually populating the original forms. So that's what Blockforms is. And it's an extremely robust solution that's taken time to build. And we're actually in an exciting place that now it's time to scale.
That's awesome. I mean, that's really amazing to see that finding a problem and then trying to solve it and then turning it into a business is sort of that magic,
Well,
three. Yeah. And I love the
oh my
fact that you've been very honest that, this journey started in 2018 and there've probably been several iterations of the
yes.
business and upgrading it and then using data really to say, okay, what does the customer really need and how to adopt it? That's amazing. I mean, kudos to you.
Thank you. That's precisely the process. And I think that there's a lot of clickbait out there and social media about side hustles, and we see all of these million zillion dollar investments in startups. And truth is, uh, those are rare, and building a business requires a lot of patience. It takes a lot of self reflection, and it takes really putting your ego aside and ditching what doesn't work and trying different things along the way. Um, it's you hear the term startup, but many of them out there are 10, 15 years old and they're
Mm,
still in the startup phase, especially software, because technology changes so quickly and you need to adapt to the customer needs, and and with so many technology options, there's a lot of playing nice with different providers out there and having to integrate to really give the customers a great experience. And this requires time, money, resources, talent, patience. So it's been a long, rewarding road, and it's still only the beginning.
yeah. And do you think you're at the point where you think investment is important for you, or would you rather than just continue to try and scale on your own?
Yeah, it's definitely important for us because we are having, and that is the exciting part about doing podcasts and putting Blockforms on the map. Uh, Money is definitely required for us to hire, and we have been going slowly, and we have customers, but in order to hyperscale, we need more resources to uh, do the technological advancements and to expedite onboarding and achieve that scale without. We just need the investment to automate everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you've talked about tech itself, and I was reading a McKinsey report that they just talk about the disparities about how many women actually, study science and engineering and, um, science and technology and engineering degrees. It's about, I think, what does it say? 52%, of women are, and they're finding it challenging. So the fact that you have been to university study, but also said I'm interested in data and paying the way forward, I think is really important as well.
Yes, I mean this is such a the why behind what you've just brought up. I I don't know. I think partially it's cultural. I mean, there are different cultures where women do pursue maths and sciences popularly. For example, it's not surprising to see a woman with an Eastern European last name in the tech field. Or there's also many women in India or China that pursue these technical degrees. Why the rest of we see less representation of women in the rest of the world? I don't know the answer. However, that is it fuels the disparity in the representation in the workplace. I had this consulting job. I worked for a consulting firm. I wasn't looking for gigs on my own.
Mhm.
And of all of the technical employees, there were approximately 400. Only four were women. And it was out of this world to arrive at a company function to celebrate the success of the year and see that reality in practice because we're all remote, so we don't really it doesn't even feel like you're part of a company. So they created this event for us to feel like a team and celebrate our successes. And it was like, what how it just with women being the majority population of the world, how is it possible that we are 1% of the technical team in this business?
And especially when it's remote, because, actually more flexibility and
Totally.
more opportunity. Yeah, yeah. That's so
And
interesting.
I can speculate as to why, but I don't know. I can talk about my own experiences, and I'm sure that I've had assumptions made about me or a loss of opportunity because of my gender, but no one has ever been so bold to say, this is why.
Mm.
But I've also had the opposite experience where they are eager to bring a woman on the team and eager to bring the different perspective. And I think it's all, especially in this day and age of automation. And if I have any advice for people looking to get into technical careers, the human aspect matters so much. There are so many people with just the skills out there, but if you can communicate effectively, and by communicate I mean listen effectively, the biggest part of communication is people often forget is the listening component. So if you're a good listener and make the investment in your teammates and getting to know them, and that is the differentiator for me when I'm hiring or managing a team versus can they code? Are they smart? And I think that's really what really sets one resource apart from another, the team aspect.
It's a soft skills as well, isn't it? And especially since technology now underpins everything in innovation and growth that is happening globally. In order for you to innovate, you have to be, like you said, an active listener and being able to dissect, the problem and say, okay, how can we solve this? And what are actually people are telling me? So much has evolved. You've seen the field evolve so much that you decided to start your own business. But what trends are you excited about that you're seeing currently in the tech space?
I think generative AI, and for listeners that aren't familiar with the term, the difference between traditional AI, where banks can detect, possible fraud, or Amazon can predict what you want to purchase next. Generative AI is the generation of content that wasn't previously existing. So whether that's text or images. So generative AI is really exciting because it is a productivity enhancement. It's not a replacement. So instead of starting from scratch, even if you're writing a blog, generative AI can create a template for you, can inspire ideas. I personally don't believe that it will out creative human beings. I think it just makes people open to using the technology even more productive. So something I always say is generative AI is not going to take your job, just like computers didn't and the internet didn't. It's going to people who learn to use generative AI well are going to be very competitive. So don't hesitate to start, learn how to use this technology to give yourself an edge. And eventually that will be commonplace. And I just lost my train of thought on what I was saying before that. So don't hesitate to get started. Oh, but also generative AI, similar to computers, the internet, it's going to create jobs that we haven't even
That we haven't even thought about. Yeah.
exactly. So just, stay tuned and keep your skills up to date. I think that is a very different experience that our generation is having relative to our parents and grandparents. They picked a career and they advanced in a very linear way, and now we're being required to update our skills constantly, the same way that accountants have to keep passing their exams, and real estate agents have to keep updating their licenses or what have you. Now this is required by everybody.
I totally agree. I mean, the fact that there are online courses and certificates, and I mean, YouTube, there is no excuse for you to actually keep absorbing and soaking up all the data and knowledge that you can. And some of them are so you know, in terms of the way the modules are taught, it's really interactive, and you don't even know that you've actually, picked up the skill set as well. We had a session, it was actually for my team, where they're just updating them on GA4. And the guy who was doing it, he was so, relaxed, and delivered the session in a way that even if you'd never had anything to do with, Google Analytics or any analytics tool, you could immediately immerse yourself in it. So he made it in small, digestible, easy chunks. And, his videos are on YouTube and things like that. So it's being able to constantly evolve, isn't it, with the time and the technology that's out there.
Yes. I mean, if you can teach yourself how to use Instagram's new updates when they push out all these new templates and whatever, you can teach yourself how to
I
uh,
agree.
prompt a large language model and adapt your prompt to elicit the output that you need. It's if you apply that uh, willingness to learn one software, why not apply that to something that's business oriented or even day to day. It's such a practical, helpful technology.
Yeah. Let's talk about your leadership skills, because obviously you've held several positions in the data science space. Share some insights about how leadership is evolving for you, and what do you think makes an effective leader?
Sure. Leadership is constantly evolving for me as I am awarded the opportunity to be a leader for different groups. I think leaders need to adapt to the group that they're leading. And I have had the good fortune of experiencing and learning the needs of different teams. So my leadership role was made official for the first time when I was working in Hong Kong, and I supervised a team of approximately 20 people. And I would say the majority of the 20 people were local to Hong Kong. And that was a very, very challenging, rewarding experience for me because completely different office lifestyle, communication, and I made a lot of mistakes and had to swallow a hard pill when I got feedback, but it's really propelled my ability to continuously observe and receive feedback along the way. My style is not a micromanager, and I think it's very important to when someone's not performing or under delivering or not meeting expectations or said they were going to do something and they haven't done so yet, it's important to be concise and clear in communicating the outcome, but also gentle. And I always ask myself before I communicate with my team, okay, what do I want out of this communication? What is my objective in this conversation? Is my objective to just inform them, or is my objective to motivate them? Is my objective to inspire them? Because that conversation changes based on the desired outcome. And 9 times out of 10, my goal is to inspire them because I enjoy working with them. They're already on the team. And it has happened where the conversation went from inspiring and motivating to this isn't working out, which is a very difficult conversation, but you have to have it. But that's the long answer to your question.
Yeah, I think, as a leader, you're always, or as a human being, you're always trying to see the best in people, isn't it? And ultimately, whether it's a personal, professional relationship, you're always thinking, okay, what do we both want to get out of this? And if it's not working, it's a different conversation. If it's working, okay, how can we fuel this amazing conversation or working relationship or personal relationship? So it's it's an interesting balance, I think. And I I think in I think probably the way our parents grew up, it was very authoritative. Leadership styles have evolved, that
Yes.
when they talk about leadership styles, you now have collaborative leadership style, communicative, someone who's democratic. I don't think all those terminologies existed, before, because maybe because of the type of work environment it was. If you're working in the Ford manufacturing company, then there's a certain way that a business has to run, and if one wheel falls off, then you have to evolve and change. But I think now, like you said, with the freedom to work in different ways remotely in tech, has just brought on a different way of how you manage people and different skill sets at different times.
True. And especially highly skilled people that are difficult to coerce to join your team. I've been on both sides of the equation where I've worked for a startup and they assumed that I had the same passion around their business as they do. And it's important for founders, if anyone's listening as a founder, anyone who works for you is not going to have the same emotion attached to your business as you do. So I think that's an important,
It's a very big assumption, isn't it?
it is.
That's
Yeah.
made.
A lot of people think, I care about this thing. So surely this person cares about the same things because everyone thinks the same way I do. Of course not, right?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of brands as well and businesses that there's a strong focus on, and rightly so, on the on their core values, their passions, their culture, etc. And I think it's one part of the job, but also I think another important part of the job is some people just want the transactional piece of, right, I can do the job, what am I getting for it? And that's all that I'm interested in. I don't have to be as I'll be as passionate about the task. Once it's completed, that's it. And you need those people as well. You
Yeah.
don't need everyone who's interested in the after work activities that are going on. You need balance. I think that's the most important thing.
Yes, and the people who aren't drinking the company Kool-Aid and making it their life should not be valued less than the people who are really on that train, right? I
Exactly.
actually have a friend that the company he works for was acquired. They were a small team, something like 50 people, and then they were acquired by a business that is 20,000. And that business is like, we are family, we are family. And he's like, oh, come on, man. Like, we're 20,000 person family. What are you talking
You're just
about?
an employee number. That's all you are. Number 10 something something. Yeah.
Yes, totally. And it's okay to call a spade and whittle down that familyness to the team level or the department level or the regional level, but let's not push it, too far.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's not make it something that it actually isn't at all. It's it. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Talk to me about work-life balance. And you're someone who's traveled a lot. You've worked in different for different businesses, different roles. What does that mean to you?
Work-life balance. It's really identifying the things that refuel you, and it's been an important lesson for me to learn. As for a long time, I've had my business Blockforms and working another job, so really two jobs, and it's important. It was an important thing for me to learn that rest is productive, and time with my supportive friends is productive because that gives me fuel, that gives me energy. So in order to achieve work life balance, do the things that make you feel well, whether that's prioritizing exercise or time with people that you love or a meditation practice or picking up an excellent book. You have to do those things in order to achieve work life balance.
I totally agree. I mean, we see with the onset of devices and tech that are, that monitor our REM, what's it called? Rapid eye movement when you're sleeping. To who would have thought that we'd come to that stage? But I think the fact that people can see it documented, the data, once again coming back to data, informing how lack of sleep or stress or anxiety have an impact on your daily lifestyle is really key. And the reason why I always ask, what does work life balance mean to you? There is no one size fits all. And it's
You're
really
right.
important to identify what drives you, what empowers you, and what keeps you going. And whether it's a book, whether it's just taking a walk, whatever it is that gets you back to you and is really key.
Yes, yes. I mean, when I have those moments where I have to get this thing done, but no matter how hard I attempt to achieve that task, I'm unsuccessful and I just need to put it down and walk away. And let my mind, brain, whatever recalibrate so that I can do that task effectively. I don't think the most successful people in the world are more successful because they don't sleep and they all they do is work. I think they're using what resources are available to them, whether it's network, money, um, uh, whatever. There's a lot of things that you can amplify your impact and achieve your goals. Running yourself into the ground won't make you more successful.
Is not one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an
There's
important
something to
question
be
to
said.
acknowledge.
Yeah, definitely. And there's something to be said about, I don't know if you've had the same as well, is your most creative ideas come when you're actually not doing the task itself at hand, you know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
your light bulb eureka moments come when you're actively doing something else.
Yes, I mean that's why they say, uh, like those shower thoughts, a lot, or
Yes.
when you're on a.
Yeah.
It's so important to be bored. If you're always occupied with work, or even mindlessly scrolling on social media, or reading the news, or watching TV, there's no room for inspiration. So 100%, you need to let your mind go blank.
Yeah. Yeah. So we know we've talked about the gender diversity in tech, and how you've seen a business where there are 400 people but 1% are women. What advice can we give, empower to women who are entering or advancing in this area, in this sector? If there were like a few tips, things that you wish another lady or woman told you when you were coming up as well.
Oh, wow. Uh, it's perhaps one of the reasons we don't see many women in this field is because that's the reality of the demographics in these roles. And if you be brave, many of the people who advanced my career are men and mentored me are men. It's not one or the other. um, if you walk the walk and go for it, that gives other women the permission and confidence to do so as well. And when you do advance, bring other women along. Do things like any mentorship things you can do. One thing I've done with a friend is create a camp for little girls in middle school, data camp to learn data practices and just learn that data is cool. Data is YouTube, data is Spotify, data is shopping algorithms. You can be involved in really sexy businesses on the data side and really be in the know and understanding how they're selling. And everyone says data is the new currency. So uh, we still need a lot of pioneers to increase representation. And don't be afraid. There are many incredible men out there that will support you as well. And bring women along.
There is definitely power in the pack. Talk to me about the camp that you organized. Is it a summer camp?
Yes, it's a summer
Talk to me
camp.
about that. That's a really
Yeah.
great project.
It's a really elementary level of understanding, like how do you collect data, how do you normalize data. So things like the height of blades of grass, and making sure you're measuring in the same metric, centimeters instead of inches. And in order to compare data to data, they have to be the same metric. And what do you do when you have data that isn't the same metric? You have to convert it, and this is and just making it fun, getting outside. And the way that we also inspire young women is by leading by example. So bringing in other women that are successful and interesting and fun and have these really cool lives, because you can have an incredible life and still be feminine and beautiful, and even though you're pursuing a career in maths. So that's what the camp is all about. It's like showing the world of possibility if you go this direction.
Oh, that's amazing. And what's sort of the age group that you look after in the camp
Uh,
then?
Middle school. So middle school entering high school. And what that means in the US is ages 12 to 15.
And that's really that age of discovery and
Yes.
evolution, isn't it? It's like if you can get them there interested, oh my God, amazing.
It all boils down to having the right teachers. Math is it is a challenging subject that makes your brain have to learn discipline and observe patterns. It's not for everyone. I'm not saying everyone should force themselves in this direction. There's absolutely a lot of success to be achieved in other domains. But if you are good at math and are a woman, like, please, 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 please continue. That's all I have
It's
to
showing
say.
all the possibilities, I think, that are out there, isn't it? Beyond just learning the Pythagoras theorem. I think that's
Yes.
basically it.
Yes, I mean, it's so important to pick up and this includes sciences. We all know how to use our phone, but how does our phone work? What is it made of? What powers it? And let's move beyond creating videos on YouTube, but like, how does YouTube work? What platform is it sitting on? What's the architecture that powers YouTube, that makes it accessible to every human being with internet and a device in the world? Those are the kinds of questions that I want to inspire. And then that's where the learning and the creativity of, okay, now I know how this works, what else could I build that is it uses similar architectures to then. And instead of, oh, I have this idea, now I have to go find a developer. Well, what if you had the tools to get started on your own? And that is a big part of how my business was born with my partners.
That is such a great way to think about it. I mean, there's a research that the Harvard Business Review did about talking about building networks. We all talk about networking when we're older, but building networks, connecting the dots, you're starting that through the camp where, there's a bunch of middle school teens in the phase getting to think differently, to collaborate, to explore, and just developing that skill set to say, actually, how do I use this when I'm older? So that's so great. We'll definitely put that in the show notes so people can learn about the camp. Even if
Yeah.
it's in a small stage, it has to start small somewhere, and you're empowering as you go along.
Yes, that's the entire purpose.
So we've talked about a lot of things, your career and what you're doing now. What others are some challenges that you've personally faced, Tanya, as a woman, and how have you overcome them?
Certainly. A lot of it is imposter syndrome, thinking that who do I think I am to go and ask investors for money. And let me tell you, asking for money is awful. It is not fun to beg and say, please believe in me. But then something, after doing it enough times, and when you have a really great product and you have customers that have validated that this is a need that they are willing to pay for, then something happens to your confidence, and you can stand up there with certainty that you've achieved up to this point with these resources, and imagine how much more you can achieve with investment. And then telling that story gets a lot easier. And it's just, believing in yourself is so hard. And I don't want to get into why that is notoriously more difficult for women, but I encourage everyone to put themselves out of their comfort zone. And if you're interested in starting your own business, don't plan it to death. Don't write your business plan for 10 years. Just start, get going, and throw things at the wall and see what sticks. So I definitely had to get over a lot of imposter syndrome, and public speaking. Oh my goodness, that takes a lot of practice to not sit in an presentation situation or interview situation and not say or even learning how you pronounce things such that it's not like, I don't know if the listeners have noticed, but I hiss on my s's, and I need to practice not to hiss, to just make it easier to listen to. So it's a lot of self-awareness, moving past doubt. And when you doubt yourself, do it anyways. And if you think it's silly, do it 10 times more. That's the way to overcome many of the hurdles in building a business, whether you're just at the beginning or you're starting to hire people and feeling nervous about getting them to rally behind your vision. Just do it. And the big thing, and also I actually really recommend in a form of mentorship or working at a startup, because when you see how it's done there, it's very easy to pause and go, they can do it, I can do it. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
expose yourself to your dream. Really expose
That's
yourself.
a very good thing to look at. And you've talked about developing a high level of self-awareness is scary because then you have to sort of like peel all the layers, isn't it?
Oh,
To
yes.
expose and determine, okay, these are my strengths. Let me roll with this. These are my weaknesses. Let me work with them. And ultimately, you've got nothing to lose, isn't it? If there's only this one life, there's only this one opportunity, and you hit the nail on the head just talking about even asking for money or trying to raise money or public speaking or talking about your business. It's all these things that you're having to battle with, but the motto of just do it, just go for it. What's the worst that can happen is a really good one.
Yes. I mean, there's, uh, if you don't do it, the answer is still no. So might as well do it. And what if you get a yes at some point? Everyone
Yeah.
tells you when you go out for fundraising, it's really easy to get a no. It's really hard to get a yes. And even the best ideas that I went to one talk in Northern California, and the woman sitting on stage is a very famous investor. And she even has to live with the fact that she passed on Twitter 20, however many years ago. And she said no to them. And look at the business now. So it's all about, it's all about it, keep going, keep going. The only time it's a failure is when you give up. And when I say keep going with a caveat, take feedback, adapt, pivot where necessary, be open to learning, be humble. I know that there are those CEOs out there that think they walk on water. Don't be that one. Even they didn't know. Everyone. The truth is, we're all out here not knowing what we're doing and doing our best.
That is
So
so true. And the thing about keep going, if the idea isn't working, drop it, find another idea. That concept might not be it, that path not be the journey that you
exactly.
need to take. So I think, yeah, you said growth is not linear, progression is not linear. So enjoying those ebbs and flows is really important. What stage are you in your fundraising? Have you have you reached?
Yes, so thank you for asking. We are looking for our first institutional round right now. So previously we funded ourselves, and then we did friends and family through equity crowdfunding. And now we're launching the institutional seed round for our business we've really bootstrapped this thing, and now it's time to scale.
Oh,
So we're
that's
raising $1 million.
amazing. Once you get past that family and friends stage,
Yeah.
then it's going somewhere, isn't it?
Yes,
So
yes. And even
that's
that,
so,
I take any family or friends investment very seriously, because there's over my dead body, am I going back to them and saying, well, it didn't work out. I have to figure it out, especially like that is an even bigger motivator, that people that I love believed in me.
yeah. Do you think there was like a stage? So obviously you were self-funded before that you then said, okay, I think this has got legs. This is the time now to start asking.
Yeah. So then that's when you have paying customers.
Exactly. Or you
I'm sure
can pay
some
yourself
people,
as well.
so
Not yet.
not yet. No, that's why soon that won't be the case, but that's why I've still had a job at this uh, up until this point. And I like to tell investors, if I've accomplished this while still having a full-time job, imagine what I could accomplish if this is all I were working on, So
Yeah. And Tanya, that's also another, good nugget to share. You are an entrepreneur, but it's okay to work as well. Do not give up your day job until you know
yes,
this is
yes,
the time now to move on to the dream. The dream becomes the job. It's really
yes.
important. Yeah.
It's
Because I
important
think
to validate.
sometimes, do you know what really annoys me sometimes, Tanya, is when I see all those ads on YouTube or on Instagram telling us, you could be making this amount, just start this business, and the reality is, you
Yeah.
know, there is no one tip wonder out there. You actually have to, if you have a business, an idea, it takes time to build and before it starts scaling.
Yes, and many of us don't have enough in savings, or a partner that's wealthy, or parents that support us in our day-to-day expenses. So I had to work a lot and really hard. And
Oh, you
you
should
can
be
too
proud of
if
yourself,
that's
Tanya.
thank you. And uh, if you really believe in your idea, start validating it now, and do it on the side, and um, do what you have to do to feel safe and calculate. The risk is calculated. You don't just quit everything and go for it. So I live in Los Angeles, and there's a lot of dreamers here, and a big part of artists going full time is they know people like their art. So it's the same with building a tech business. It takes a long time to get your name out there, and get a product that works reliably into production, and it takes a lot of patience and grit.
Let's talk about mentorship. So you've talked about how mentorship has been important to you. Do you currently have a mentor, or are they role models that you just look up to in the industry that have played a role in your growth and development?
Uh, it- Life is funny, when you're ready to learn, the teacher appears, and
It's a good
that
one.
continues to be true. It's actually my yoga teacher who says that, but it's so true, uh, in the form of friends and network. And my business is part of an accelerator program with wonderful mentors, and the mentors change over years. So recently I was connected with a first mentor, and now they're going to be joining my business. And so mentorship is something that I proactively keep in place, especially where I know I don't have that skill set. So for me, that's marketing, that's sales, that's predominant at the moment. I'm not the best storyteller, and I'm not a designer. So I know that that's where I need outside expertise and guidance. When I sit with a creative that works with businesses, they'll make some suggestions, and of course I'm like, I like this, I don't like this, but I always am like, well, you're the expert. What do you think? So yes, mentors are important. How do you find them? Again, put yourself in the environment where you're dreaming to grow into, whether that's joining a startup, or say you have aspirations to be a film producer, start small as an intern and just be ready and hungry and eager to learn and a great listener. And it's amazing when you don't speak how much you can learn.
Oh
So when
yeah,
a
that's a very big one. Yeah. Clean those ears. Active
yes,
listening is a big thing for sure.
yes, and check your ego at the door. You don't know everything.
And that's forever. We're forever learning that, isn't it? I mean, the amount of things I learn even from my younger team or even my children, just so much. Just be a sponge, just being open to, explore and to learn and to learn from other people, I think is a very big thing. And the fact that you said insert yourself in the environment you actually want to be in, you're gonna have to humble yourself once you get there because you're learning from those who are doing the do.
Yes, and some of my most successful friends, a good friend of mine is an entrepreneur in India. I mean, he graduated from UCLA with 2 degrees, neuroscience and economics, in 3 years, which is extremely impressive. And then he went to Dubai and was serving coffee around these billionaires. That you just whatever it takes if you're hungry.
Yeah, yeah. So as you continue your journey, what are your aspirations for the future, both, professionally and where is this going for Tanya?
Oh, I would really love for this business to grow and sell it. And everyone's life is short, life is short, life is long. I don't have to be in tech forever. I would love to go into education and do education research, especially around motivating young girls to pursue careers in math and science, and understanding the why, and then creating a solution to increase confidence and create environments that inspire women to pursue these careers, girls then women.
That's amazing. We're now on to Trailblazer takeaway tips. So you've shared your journey, your story, your nuggets. What are 3 things? They can be 4, but 3 things you'd love to share as your Trailblazer takeaway tips.
Oh goodness, don't be fooled by all this social media. And we touched on it earlier, but this, success is overnight. Success is not even in a year. Success is not even in 5 years. It's be patient. Be patient. And so one is patience. Number 2 is be adaptable. So whether it's feedback you're getting or new technology, or if you're someone who's climbing the corporate ladder, something that happens and really has ruffled my feathers more than once is businesses getting acquired. All of a sudden, that job that you love changes, and you have to be adaptable. You're working with different teams, and I think the third one, this don't don't take yourself so seriously. Like, really focus on the things that recharge you, what your value system is, and create a life that mirrors your value system, because you get this one life to do these interesting things, and just go for it. And your job, your career, whatever you do to earn money is not who you are. And so that job can change. You could have had a technical career your whole life, and you suppress your desire to write. Start writing. Whatever your situation is, your identity is not your job or your career.
Tanya, thank you so much. You have a really high emotional intelligence. I'm very
Thank you.
humbled by this conversation that we've had, and I'm certain it will inspire. It's inspiring me right now. I need to go take stock of things that matter to me and my priorities. But sometimes that's what you need, isn't it? That sense check, that self check, and it's great to see women in tech, and that's what we need to see more of. And thank you so much.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to have this conversation.
Awesome. Well, everyone, it's been the Trailblazers Experience podcast. You know where to find us. We'll put all the important details about Tanya, our amazing guest, in the show notes, and tell another woman about a podcast. And thank you very much.